If you fill one, if you fill two, you make twice as much in a day. That's the way Grandpa thought. You might have to walk. So he ended up at the end. I heard he'd do three of them a day, but he had work almost from daylight to dark to fill three of those a day by hand. That's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
I say my grandpa was tougher than whale shit. But that's all he ever knew was high. He wasn't a big guy either. He was only like 5'4". When he finally got a store, the salesman he would pay to come and watch my grandpa. For so much money, Grandpa would run up, he'd take a 50-pound bag of whatever, peanuts, and put them in his teeth and run up one block and back down the other one. He would do that to entertain the salesman. Like one salesman would break it, he said, we got to go to Grand Ledge and watch Joe. And they say, oh, there ain't no way he can do it. But he could do that with his hands behind his back. He'd hold us a 50-pound bag of whatever it was, and he'd run up the hill. It's like one city block, and then back down. Well, I let him go with his teeth. But I said he wasn't very tall. But I mean, just you grab a hold of him, it's like grabbing an iron bar. But that's all he knew of his whole life since he was a little kid. It was work. So anyway, he found out he got so much. Oh, if I do two, I'd make twice. So anyway, he had saved all he anyway. So now he's got a little something. I said he ended up with that tenant house, I guess they called it back then. He ends up owning that tenant's house. Probably the people that the original owner owned it, and he, like I said, everything he touched turned to gold. So anyway, see, that was another thing. All the big shot. Anyway, he starts out with that old saying is, he started out with a bunch of bananas on the corner on the north side. This is where his bar is, selling fruit. Then he finally rents one of the stores where the bar is now, and he just rented the place to this old lady that owned probably 2 or 3 buildings in there, probably well-to-do. Anyway, he paid his little rent and stuff. He's working 7 days a week. Anyway, the saying is, started out with a bunch of bananas, and he ended up with a little more and a little more. But that's the way he started. But he was big on big fruit. And then when I was born, I remember, I'm just a little kid. I remember going to see that. What do you call it? The one in Lansing was the market in Lansing along the river. Well, he wouldn't want to go to that when he went to the big one in Grand Rapids, where he could save a little money. So I remember him riding with him in that old Rio truck, and I'm only. It might even been during the war, and everybody said, yeah, it's probably during the war. So everybody else is overseas, going in that old Rio over to and that market's on the Grand River too, in Grand Rapids, and him buying. And he'd always know, he knew his fruit. You know, he could thump his watermelon, he knew when it was muskmelon, all that stuff. He knew when it was time to eat it and all that stuff. I don't know if he learned it, was born with it or what. But anyway, he was a big fruit guy. You couldn't sell him a bunch of crap. So anyway, you start out with it, and you got a little more and a little more. Then you got another store. This is where I want to go. Well, I don't want to go down there. I guess we could, because I'm going to show you the golf course, don't I?